to wherever long term when you talk about state and municipality. But at least we need to be able to say this is where we're positioning ourselves for the now. Yes, I agree.
Our politicians have to help. And one of the ways they can help, you mentioned people coming from India. The people coming from India, and a person could look this up, they used to be considered white in this country. But when the civil rights legislation passed, they got their classification changed from being white to being a minority. Before they did that, and this is why the CBC, Congressional Black Caucus, continues to let us down. I mean, because if you're working 60 hours a week, 50 hours a week, like my brother driving the Uber all them hours, you're tired. Because when you get home, you know, you're tired. The only thing you want to do is take a shower, eat and sleep, go to the bathroom. That's all you want to do. You're not paying attention to politics. And I don't fault nobody for that. I mean, because many of us were working long hours on these jobs. But the CBC, they failed us when the Indians wanted to change their classification from being non-white, from being white to being a minority. The CBC should have stood before Congress and told them they should not be allowed to do that. But they were silent. They said nothing. And sometimes being silent is being complicit. So our politicians many times let us down in protecting what should be set aside for us.
I agree.
I agree, and I think the reason for that, if we can really understand the science behind why they do that, it would do a better service. And I know that we talk about this a lot in our education room, is that they have already subscribed to that dominant society, and they no longer see our people as being the need. They start seeing the others, because they actually buy into that whole, we are a nation of immigrants. They literally buy into that. They buy into that whole fraternal of whiteness, and that they see that they no longer need to advocate for the Negro, but now they become this whole humanist person, and they feel like they need to advocate for everyone.
I agree, but I agree in worldview, and I also see that, or at least my character, because to them, it's just a job. They're not advocates, they're just getting paid, you know. And somebody, I think it was in this room, mentioned about, and I think it was in relationship to immigrants, they also have to pledge an allegiance. I mean, you don't get to be a political officer, a judge, or even a police officer without pledging, you know, to the country. So, you know, automatically, their priority, and I don't know these people personally, but we look at the outcome, and then we look at the history, and we have to raise these kind of questions about, you know, who are they advocating for? Understand, when you're in those rooms, there's power struggle. I mean, there ain't no joke. I mean, these boys go to war over that money. You know, Alfred, as you talk about, they go to war over that. Women that sitting at these tables, they negotiating. If they were, they got to have a force. You know, they got to have a card to be able to and be able to hold to it. You know, as those labor leaders, and that could be traced back to A. Philip Randolph, right? As far as the labor organized and being, you know, so they have a history, and they have an organizational history of how they're taking control over that labor, but in proportion to the broader population of us, and from one generation to the next, which is somebody need to be looking at it from that vantage point. When people talk about the helicopter view, and I'm saying we need to be looking from the Webb telescope view, you know, because these guys is on Mars now doing things, and we're you know, that's important, you know, to bring up in relationship to understanding the criticalness of this as we bring up. And when y'all were mentioning the Taiwanese, I think it's Taiwan. I mean, phenotypically, you got a lot of dark-skinned Taiwanese in Asia, and we haven't seen them in relationship to immigration. And I'm only bringing up the distinction between phenotype and genotype, and how, you know, as you mentioned, how they can be classified to take advantage once they use the immigration policy, and where the crust of the big dollars are, income dollars are. They're in right now. They're in the high tech level or in the coding level of this society, of this business society. They're in that level, more than just in the labor level.
And I'm going to add to that, because when looking at those individuals who were in the Black Cabinet, I believe that was that during Roosevelt?
Yes.
So they literally recognized that they were Negroes. They recognized that they were American Negroes. So one, they didn't have any identity issues. They knew exactly who they were. They knew exactly what they were there for and who they were advocating for. And during the whole time, they advocated to get resources who fought in the war. They knew exactly what they were doing, and they stayed on that mission as being advocates for their own people. And I think today, to compare what our CBC is, it is like they have literally jumped off the boat. One, they're having identity crisis. They don't know who they are and who they represent. It's like it is. I don't know where we lost it, but they literally lost it. Okay. I'm thinking somewhere around the 70s when the money started coming in, and they started like, oh, I can really come up. I can really do stuff for my own family. Forget the greater population of American Negroes. You know, they took a turn, and that turn that they took literally left us behind. And when I'm thinking, yes, we have people who fit the phenotype of us, but they are clearly not working on behalf of those who they share a genetic tie to. They definitely are not working on our behalf.
Because they are not us. I mean, you have this congresswoman in Florida. Well, you have this congresswoman in Florida, Frederica Wilson, who is Bahamian. And while there were Bahamians who helped build Florida, the people who mainly built Florida were Black Americans. They were recruited from Georgia and South Carolina, and they built the infrastructure of the railroad in Miami, what is called Miami-Dade County. So to have a city, a county, you have to first have infrastructure. And Black people built that, and that's a historical fact. Now, because we flattened Black in Antonio's more.
Never say that.
And that's true. In other words, we consider if a person Black, we think they want us when they really not. She's Bahamian, and that's why she advocates for more Haitians to come in. I was at I happened to be in Fort Lauderdale. I used to sell insurance for New York Life. Another job I had, I was doing some marketing, and I was at the AKA convention. They had it in Fort Lauderdale a few years ago. I asked one of the congressmen who has passed away, named Alcee Hastings. A Haitian woman actually took his place in Fort Lauderdale because she apparently heard us talk somehow and started talking about everybody in a district should get a check because they're Black, which she cannot do. But anyway, I asked him, where is Frederica Wilson? he says, well, she's in Nigeria helping those women who have been captured by Boko Haram or something like that. And I said, wow, she should be here. We voted for her. I mean, she should be serving her constituents. And this is how, I said that to illustrate how the CBC has gotten off into a whole nother agenda. Even the lady who's over reparations in Houston, I forget her name right now. What's her name? What is her
Sheila
name?
Jackson.
Huh?
Sheila Jackson.
Yeah, Sheila Jackson Lee. Okay, Sheila Jackson Lee. Now, she's been over reparations all those years. California has really just come out and made a tremendous amount of progress, and she has not made the type of progress that she should have made being over that responsibility. Sheila Jackson Lee is actually Jamaican, and she should resign from her position of calling herself over reparations in the House of Representatives. She should resign from that and let somebody else do that. She's not of our lineage. Or what she's been doing has not been moving fast enough. And California has just showed us how fast it can move. So we're not them, and they're not us. And blackness has been flattened, and it's our mistake we did that. And this needs to be corrected. Of course, Kamala Harris, Indian and Jamaican. She came out, I heard her on YouTube the other day. She was saying that she was celebrating Kwanzaa since she's been a little girl. Well, most black Americans don't celebrate Kwanzaa. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Most black Americans don't celebrate Kwanzaa. So we know she's probably not telling the truth about that. And most of a lot of her education took place outside of the United States prior to attending Howard University. Okay, even Barack Obama, he also is not from a lineage of American chattel slavery in this country. And so we're not them and they are not us.
Oh.
People like, I hate to say this, Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton, in a way, they have done us a disservice after Martin Luther King. They have really done it because they have basically flattened blackness.
Facts. And you know that organization that they have down in Florida is called Black Men Unite or something like that, right? One of the presidents, he's foundational black, but he said that because most of the black men in his organization are from an immigrant background, he can't really push things specifically for black Americans because that will ruin his organization. He was in Twitter Spaces with Luke. You know, when Luke tried to come over, he was assigned by the Democratic Party to come over and quell the whole delineation thing. And this guy literally came out and said that he cannot push delineation down in Florida because they're not the majority there. Most of the people there do have an immigrant background, and it would just basically ruin his whole organization. And it's like, you know what? If you're going to have an organization and you're foundational black American, your organization is not benefiting your own people, then why even bother having the organization? You can't even freely speak about things that are going on with your own people. So why even have the organization? It makes no sense unless you're just in it for the money.
Well, what's that thing? What's her name? The person who ran for governor, she said the same thing. She said we are only 13% of the population ran for governor of Georgia. Didn't she run for governor of Georgia?
Oh,
She's.
Are you talking about Stacey Abrams?
Stacey Adams, yes. Right, Abrams, right. Mm-hmm. She said, the reason why, because the question was asked to her directly, the reason why is because we're only 13% of the population. That was her response to that. So, I mean, I'm only bringing that up in the sense of you can tie it to an individual, organization, but somewhere in the political calculus of the Democratic Party and those who want to be associated with it because there's money in those bills. That's the growing ideal. Now, I'm not dealing with the ethnicities of the individual politicians, this generation of individual politicians, or, the organizations they may represent. But, the ideal of why, in her saying, and the only thing I would give her, she was the only one I've heard who at least was honest as a political entrepreneur or a political, I don't know if she's a statesperson or not, but to actually say that is the political calculus. And I would just add, I see that change came in 72 at the Gary Convention when you're asking Oni, when did this happen? And even then, Stokes said, why should we listen to those nationalists pushing black power when in that convention, when they were raising about controlling a lot of different things, even to having an independent party, they said, why should we listen to them where we're getting the votes? And from that's the beginning of the generational beginning of black politicians not having the same, which you mentioned only, the same advocacy for black people in America compared to those who were in the black cabinet of the 30s and 40s. To me, that's an indication, and you can see the evolution. And I don't deny, maybe I don't get into the ethnic background of people in these places, but you can see when you lose the advocacy for black people and this his silence that occur in the political machinery, and particularly in the Democratic political machinery. And I'm not pro-Democrat or Republican because both parties do not service black folks. But I'm just saying, to me, that's where the point of advocacy shift from being about black people to being about being what's good for America.
Well, what's good for America is that reparations are done for the descendants of American child slavery. And what Stacey Abrams should have done, she should have just make the case, be strong enough, have a strong enough fortitude, be politically savvy enough for the descendants of American chattel slavery. That's good for the United States of America, and it's the right thing to do.
And stood on that square, and she could have continued to do the other things, but instead what she did was she went to HBCUs and supported DACA. Like literally shitted in the people's face with DACA, and was very and stood on her square regarding that.
Right, when you heard that interview where she said that it's not enough of us, that we're the minority. So I guess basically it's okay to ignore us. So, but here is what I believe though, and I could be wrong, somebody correct me if I am, but I believe that, and not that we can't do both sides. FOMO. But I just believe that we definitely need to get this delineation done before reparations come through.
Well, that's happening. So that's in the works, as we speak. It's definitely happening. Like across the board, through the Office of Budget and Management, yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And the good thing about California doing this first is really a blessing, California was not a slave state like Florida, so that puts more pressure on Florida to do reparations. In California, really, the Ninth Circuit is one of the most liberal circuits and is the most liberal federal circuit in the United States of America. Therefore, if the most liberal federal circuit in the United States of America says the restriction has to be lineage-based, then that sets a ground for these federal circuits who are far more conservative to at least adopt the same criteria.
Now, was that the whole reason for the OMB that we did for the government that time, when they was asking if we wanted to be a part of the listening session to be able to add in?
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Well, I appreciate the conversation, you guys. I think that we just need to continue to be vocal and to call out when people are working against us. We need to continue to do that.
I still believe that we should, if we can, bury that term African American because it's confusing. No.
It is. African American, Black American, it's all confusing. It is. Because either way you look at it, people coming from another country, they have children here, and then they want to leave, culturally, they leave behind where they came from, and then that child becomes Black American. So it is confusing with both terms. It is. So the only one that cannot be confused is Friedman.
Yeah.
That's the only one that can't be confused. So.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that African, when Jesse Jackson came on Johnny Carson and made this edict that we should call ourselves African American, it was not well thought out. A bunch of nonsense.
Or was it? Or was it thought out?
Well, probably not.
Because we know they planned this stuff 10, 20 years in advance. So let's say that they had they already knew where the country was going to go in terms of importing Africans. And to make it a more flattened term and welcoming of all people of African descent, and to get the U.S. out of paying reparations, what if it was well thought out? What if that was a deal that was made somewhere in Congress somewhere that we're not privy to? Because no one of us is going back and reviewing all those congressional notes that they had.
No, but it was led by Jesse.
Mm-hmm.
It was led by Congress. Didn't say that. Jesse came out and started advocating for them.
Yeah, but why? Who was in his ear? Why was he doing it? I mean, he had to have a why. It's not just because he wanted to flatten blackness. No. If there was a reason why he did that. We haven't uncovered it yet. Because we didn't do the legwork to search for it yet. Just like we're going through all this historical contents and stuff. We're, doing Black Reconstruction. We're doing the history of whiteness. We're doing a deep dive into so many things. We're gonna uncover that shit too.
Well, Jesse came on and actually said it because He said black is not a country, if I remember the interview correctly. He said that Africa, is a continent, and it would be better to call ourselves African American. That was his reasoning, and that was his thinking. And so a lot of people went along with Jesse Jackson. Now, the reason he did it on Carson, I'm thinking because when I look at old Johnny Carson footage, something I did know about Carson, that he had Martin Luther King on his show. He had black civil rights leaders, and he had them for an entire week. This was back in the 60s on his show. And they were discussing these different issues, which is really remarkable for that time. And so maybe that's why Jesse chose that platform to say that, we should be called African Americans is the more appropriate term. I think it was more Jesse, and I don't think it was something nefarious by Congress. I think that was just more Jesse, and I think it was a mistake.
I think it was more Jesse too, because he was trying to set a precedent. He always do stuff for legacy purposes. He was trying to outstage Martin Luther King. He was trying to because he's the type of person, he's an actor. On one hand, he said that he'll crush Obama nuts because Obama a bystander. On the other hand, when Obama became president, just for the cameras and the history point of view and the legacy point of view, he was crying like a little bitch. You know what I mean? How you gonna cry for a nigga you gonna crush his balls? You know what I mean? So I feel the same thing with you say about Jesse Jackson. He did that himself. That's the type of nigga he is.
But if it's true what they say in terms of Jesse being a card-carrying Cherokee Indian, why would he do that?
Exactly. Why
just
would he
about to
do
say,
that?
that nigga is registered to the Cherokee Nation.
So why would he do that?
Who was acknowledging the Cherokee's existence at that time? Tell me, what black people was getting in line? A card carrying was getting all the money.
What I'm saying is, apparently, Jesse knows his lineage or whatever in order for him to be a card-carrying Cherokee Indian, and whether they got any kind of acknowledgement or not outside of, the ones who were grouped into that,
right.
Whatever, you know what I'm saying? Because they didn't have nothing to do with your average, black American, and then like that. So, it just further makes me believe that there had to be some other agenda behind it, because otherwise, why would he even care?
Yep, and you made me think of something, because you are correct. I don't know, what agenda, whatnot, but just like y'all was talking before about the Congressional Black Caucus. If you went on their page and looked up the issue part of their page, reparations ain't in none of the issues, but immigration is in their issues. You know what I mean? So yes, people have agendas, and I'm not putting that past Jesse, but I think Jesse was doing that for his own legacy.
I get what you're saying. And well, let me say this. Are you saying you think he did that for his own legacy to go subscribe to the Cherokee Nation?
No, I ain't talking about nothing about the Indians. I'm talking about him saying Black America. I mean African American. I was speaking of that point. No, I ain't speaking of nothing of the Indians. I don't know nothing about Indians.
So when you say to his legacy, just being the fact
What?
that he was
Yes, you know, he trying to, you know how Martin Luther King got I Have a Dream? You know what I mean? Something he can put his stamp on. Yeah, something he can put his stamp on. That's...
I can agree with you on that. That's why I want to make sure to let you know ahead of time. I am agreeing with you on the legacy part. I felt like he either did it for his legacy as well as being able to pass the benefits he get from the Cherokee Nation down to somebody, or being somebody that can be quoted in history. But I do feel like Flowers and Thatdamnjt also, why would you go and register yourself to the Cherokee Nation and then turn around and say African Americans?
Right, right. I don't understand that part either.
Now, I bring it up because I kind of look at this shit the same way I see these clubhouse people that push the indigenous tip real hard. I would think that, let's say if they was in Jesse Jackson's position and they could really be tied to the Cherokee tribe and they ain't have no problems with that and all that other shit, right? You see how they want everybody to acknowledge what grandmama told, or what Indians were heavily populated in that area, so I couldn't have been black because the numbers was too mass, all that shit like that. I would expect him to go sign up with the tribe and then try to go get some more people and be like, hey, y'all know we really Cherokee. But instead, he went inside with the tribe and then turned around and said, we African American.
But as a politician, he wasn't running as a Cherokee. He was running as a black man.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing that y'all have to look at too, take in consideration that he was running as a black man and he was running for black votes.
I just heard, maybe this just because I see this. If I'm gonna hit this podium, I'm gonna tell the world we black, we African American. I'm not gonna go sign up, you know what I'm saying, for that other shit. And again, I think that some shit just like, you know, out of that school they hear sometimes on that situation, and we can just leave it, you know, right there with that. But I guess it's just hard for me to try to grasp the fact of being in the organized view and in the political space and go and register as a Negro / colored / black man at that time to go and register with the Cherokee Nation and then to turn around and label us African American. Like the agenda, I would think if somebody went and did that was to bring more people in, when a motherfucker turn into a Moor and they come back and they like, oh, you ought to be a Moor because of this, that, and the third, I would think that nigga did that. But to be tied to a native tribe and then now we African American, I never understood that. When I want to speak to something, I'm going to speak in regards to reparations. I'm going to speak in regards to having pride in being a black American and the things that I've come across in life. I wouldn't, you know what I'm saying, I wouldn't get a job somewhere that's hiring. And then my people ain't just somebody hiring. I'd be like, oh shit, I ain't really came across no job. I'd be like, shit, I just got hired at this job, they paying this and that, you know what I mean? So, I've always wondered about this since I found that shit out. Like, what would make you get up in front of the masses and say we African American, but then you take your tight Jerry Curl
why you coming up with that decision? You have to ask yourself what the mentality of Jesse Jackson, what type of person he is. You know what I mean? Do he want for me as he want for himself? Is he out for his own self? Why would Martin Luther King didn't even like him like that? You know, why the FBI said they worked with him? So it's a lot of things you have to ask. So what Flowers and Thatdamnjt saying is true, you know what I mean? But what me and Mr. Alfred is saying is true too. You know what I mean? That the bitch was just in for himself. There's a lot of stuff he had help and they right. But a lot of stuff, that nigga was out for his own self, his own benefit. He always wanted to be better than everybody. He always tried to be the camera thing. You see him in there crying for Obama. I was like, dude, you just said you wanna. Come on, man. You just said you wanna. If you had a chance to snatch his nuts off, you'd cut his balls off. Cause he ain't good for black people. Then you crying at his inauguration.
But he got that right, though. He got that part right.
He did get that part right, but the part is to be an elder and to get that right, then go turn around and cry at this dude inauguration. It's like I know what type of tears that was. I know what type of tears that was. I seen a couple of them one time with my daughter. Those little fake old tears. I know fake tears when I see one. And I know black people. Black people don't sell you out and cry over you. That ain't us. We don't do that. You're a dirty bag, dirt bag, and we made our mouth, we fixed our mouth to call you a dirty, stinking dirt bag. That's the fuck we mean. We ain't finna cry over you. That's why they let him die slow. Karma's a motherfucker. Karma. Karma ain't letting him die fast. These little kids only know what they hear now. They done fucked up their legacy so bad that now, you know, they got to watch their shit just deplete. You ain't notice Obama ain't never did an interview with the real black media yet? After all these years. Cause he know what he did. And they know when they face some real black minds, they get really put to the test. Oh, you smart, huh? Okay, let a real black mind interview you. I ain't never liked Jesse. I always felt Jesse was a rat. I ain't never felt Jesse. That's why my family and them, they used to call him Messy Jesse. Like, why y'all call him Messy Jesse? He ain't good people. You ain't never seen documentaries of them saying, the FBI said he helped them with Martin Luther King? Keep. Yep. That's what I'm saying, but like, I like everybody right. I'm just saying, but when we do judge people, you got to see what kind of mentality they got. You know what I mean? What they would do for power. When we got black dudes that would do anything for power, they the most worthless things we have on the arsenal. Cause they'll kill us as soon as they get a chance, and kill and get all us killed. And that's what Jesse was. Jesse ain't genuinely care for us. I ain't like the fact, I ain't like, what you call, how y'all feel about Eric Dyson?
Is that the science guy?
Yeah, he ain't the science guy, he's a professor.
You talking about Neil?
No.
Oh, Eric Dyson?
Yeah. He can talk, he got very good articulation. He can articulate very well. He swear he's so hip hop and black.
That's what you call being cunning, a master of words.
Yes, because the thing is,
you know, you have credibility behind you.
Right.
You were able to master.
Right, and that's what they used him. They used him when Obama was president. So anybody that pushed back on Obama, he was there for them. It ain't no video. You can't find one video of Michael Eric Dyson checking Obama for not doing enough for black people. Can't find it.
Right, that wasn't his mission though. His mission was to get black people on board and be able to do that. They you know, every time we would out, especially because, you know, we weren't on board at first. We were like, very hesitant, but they had to make the case to win many of us on, you know. Because a lot of people weren't just gonna vote for him just because
Right.
he was black, you know?
Right, and then how MSNBC did him is play it like they gonna give him a show. So they'll let him host the Ed show. Co-host, you know, Ed, when Ed ain't there, they'll let him host the Ed show. And he'll do all the talking points for Obama and talk about the people talking about Obama, you know. And I'm like, it ain't just a Republican saying that about Obama. Black people saying that too. Why you ain't protecting black people with that elegant rhetoric of yours, buddy? You don't got no video of you checking Obama for doing us wrong. Aren't you supposed to be a professor? Don't you supposed to be the rap extraordinaire? You know all of Jay-Z's latest songs. But when we say bring up a video, you checking Obama. That's what they do. They get our greatest minds, our sharpest articulators, and pay them to work for them. It happens every time. That's what they do. And then they'll bring them back like nothing ain't happened. Like nothing ain't happened. I ain't do shit. I ain't just take up for Obama the whole 8 years. I know y'all found out just like me after the first 4 years. You know, I found out the first year. Cause I was like, he talking about he ain't had time. Bitch, you controlled the House, the Senate, and the presidency for 2 years, motherfucker. You had plenty of time, you dirty dog. And then say black people should wait on reparations, but then turn around and you got a black woman at your fucking house when you made this statement that rich white men are too big to fail. And I'm supposed to take this shit, lay it down? That was the most disrespecting shit I ever heard in my life. This bitch told that rich white men are too big to fail while telling us simultaneously that we don't need reparations. You pussy bitch. And how you gonna lay up and let this pussy nigga do this to us? You just as motherfucking, just as guilty. Big head asshole. Fuck her. Fuck her. I don't care about her feelings. Fuck her feelings. Fuck her. She in the house and she ain't said one thing. You just ain't gonna do nothing for my family. You gonna do something for the gays. You gonna make white men more richer. You made more white millionaires than the law allow, and you ain't gonna do nothing for my family. Then you come out your ass and say that rich white men are too big to fail, and my people supposed to take that shit? What kind of shit is that? How can you fathom and say some shit like this? Rich white men are too big to fail. How you ever come up with that concept? How you too big to fail? Well, black people ain't too big to fail. You dirty dog.
Look who brought him up in his formative years. So you know, like, I mean, look who his mom was. Look who raised his mom's parents, you know? And then when his mom got remarried, who did she marry? So yeah, he has all that he was actually black until he actually met Michelle.
I ain't sure she black.
He had that mindset. He still had that whole view from his, you know, it's hard to get out of that box. You know, he never was, really. He was never us. He never was. He's always had that mindset of white America. So yeah, in his mindset, yeah, they are two things fail. He believes that.
And that was the most disrespectful thing I ever heard.
Disrespectful, but he don't have to respect black folks. He don't like, who are y'all again? It's his opinion.
Yep. You're right. People king. And the white people freak.
Michelle, that's a whole other thing. Yeah, she was the first lady, but I think all of that, the whole that. Sorry, does fall on her.
Supposed to fall on her. How you gonna not do nothing for your own people? He the president for everybody. How the fuck he ain't need everybody to vote? He wasn't pandering to everybody but black people. But we got to have a dream. That's why I don't like them people when they be talking about dreams and faith and all. I don't like all that shit. Motherfucker, I want a reality. I don't got time for no dreams, motherfucker. That's what...
But then, you know why they use those words? Because that is that has been the language that you are supposed to speak to foundational black Americans. You're supposed to talk about hope. You're supposed to talk about dreams. You're supposed to talk about things that they can never attain.
Yes, but at the same time, get them time to run their game.
Attain these things. They just want you to hope for those things. They want you to have faith in those things. But again, faith without work is dead, right?
Right, that's born without substance.
So they want to keep you just hoping. Because, and then they tell you get your reward when you're in heaven.
Yeah, while you having your heaven on earth. You gonna have your heaven on earth, but I gotta die to get mine.
Yes, that's the whole psychological shit that they play with us. And we were so sweet that we actually believe that shit. We get excited about that shit. We get excited about hope and change that never happened.
Yeah. And then he still run that same game. Like we ain't just like, dude, you still gonna run that hope shit on us. You still gonna.
So when we start talking about tangible, now we're being divisive.
Yeah. Now it's devices now.
When we start talking about,
It's always been like that. Well, yes. When black people start talking about we need to get paid for our services, now we lazy.
Make it make sense, right? Okay, I'm gonna go eat something. I just realized I haven't eaten anything today. I'm hungry.
I'm finna take it in myself. I done talked my mom. I done talked enough for the day. I don't usually talk this much. But
Right? You know what? I know you're still operating on that energy you had last night.
You need to shut up, sis. I had a great time. I wish somebody asked me what happened. I'm like, what you said? Oh, I thought you asked me. Oh, okay. Alright. I'm gonna close up the room if nobody.
Hey, y'all closing the room, you said.
Well, I'm finna
I'm about to go eat.
I'm finna go lay down unless y'all finna talk. You know, I ain't hear nobody else, so I ain't wanna just, not say nothing and be rude and discourteous.
Yeah, everybody going. I started my first little drink.
Well, it'd be bad.
Great. What you drinking?
Some Moscato. I done drank the whole bottle of the same.
Well,
Last night, so
This is my first drinking in the year. I'm
Well,
drinking this motherfucker.
well,
Got some fireballs here and
well,
another bottle of wine. But I drank one big bottle in an hour. I better slow down.
well, we'll just keep it. We'll just, if you ain't gonna say, we'll just keep it open. Ain't no big deal. This girl crazy.
Oh boy, I don't know what. I got some pink Moscato. This stuff is good. we communicate and we ain't gotta say a word. We communicate and we peep different things and know exactly what the situation is with each other. And that's what separates us and makes us the best amongst the rest. And that's why they all fell to death.
What you a poet tonight? What you a poet tonight?
A poet,
Everybody's still here. We just doing something. We just moving around.
You pussy last night.
I got 2 pussies, not one.
You was in the threesome? Damn, JT.
No, it was something else.
Oh, you had. Oh shit! I don't even want to ask. That's too much for my ass. I'm a geek. I'm churchy when it comes to stuff like that. Yeah, a little weird. I can't help it. It's the way I was raised. Certain things I don't do. And so when I step outside of that realm, that's why I'm